We are inspired by you. Thank you for joining our Creative Mamas community. Please give us a 5-star rating, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, support Creative Mamas Unplugged on Patreon to get your name in the credits, receive extra content, and earn some fun prizes. With this, we can keep creating, uplifting, and growing this incredible community together. We love you so much. Applause.
Be happy, happy, happy.
Be happy, be happy, mommy.
Come on, keep your chin up. Enjoy this time.
Smile,
Smile, smile, my darling.
Honey, you gotta count your blessings.
Welcome to Creative Mamas Unplugged. We are your hosts. I'm Cherice Barton.
And I'm Shelly Hutchinson. Creative Mamas Unplugged is a podcast where we navigate the hell out of being a creative mom with humor and heart.
We will have honest conversations,
Hear wise words from fellow badass mamas.
and share hilarious stories around motherhood for some much-needed comic relief. Listen, motherhood is the most creative, most difficult job in the world. You are not alone, and you deserve to be happy.
Welcome back, Creative Mamas. Today's guest is the amazing Meg Sylvester, a powerhouse in every sense of the word. She is a pleasure coach, speaker, writer, and mom of 3. Meg's work is all about helping women step out of burnout and into joy, purpose, and play. She's led retreats, collaborated with big brands, and spoken on incredible stages, but today she hung out with us and we could not be more excited. Meg has this grounded, soulful energy that makes you feel instantly safe and seen. In our conversation, she opens up about her own spiritual and sexual awakenings, how she broke free from old stories around shame and pleasure, and why embracing joy on your own terms is the most powerful thing you can do. She shares how flirting with life and finding that force affects her household positively and helps her be the mom and partner she wants to be. If you've ever felt disconnected from your body, your creativity, or your sense of self, this one's for you. So let's dive into this convo with the one and only Meg Sylvester.
I've been blonde my whole life, and then I got my color analysis done, and they were like, "You'd actually be a great brunette," and I was like, "Prove it." So, yeah. So this is like darker than my natural color, but I like it for now.
Wait, tell me about a color analysis. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyone that can like provide me like a map to more about me, I'm like, yes. Like I started taking like quizzes in 17 magazine when I was like 8 years old, like tell me everything about me. Anyway, so color analysis is, they essentially like look at your, like, are you warm or cool tone? And then they tell you your season. So like I could go like spring or autumn, depending on if I'm tan or what my hair color is. And it just looks at all of that. And then it just makes things easier because they're like, here's the colors that look best on you. Here's the hair colors that look best on you. Here's like the undertones and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so
You don't have to figure it out all the time.
yeah, I'm like, just tell me everything and I'll do it.
So now, do you feel like with what you're doing for women and friendships and community and that, do you feel like you are providing that similar type of service where you're kind of mapping out for people what they need to be doing to find pleasure, or are you feeling like you're helping them find it within themselves, or is it a little bit of both?
It's more on the, I'm going to sit with you and reflect back your power and your strength and your beauty and like brainwash you into like deeply believing in yourself and finding it on your own. So when I first started out supporting women, I was very much like, here's the template and here's the steps to take. And I realized, me personally, as someone who inspires, that was me hiding and not necessarily like believing in my power as a mirror. And I'm not saying this is true for all guides and facilitators. We all have our own unique way of supporting people. But for me, like really providing templates and structures felt like an inhibited version of how like my full self wanted to show up, which was just kind of intuitively holding up that mirror and then saying, now here's some like stepping stones, like universal stepping stones, just to kind of help you feel grounded, but you do you, and I'm going to provide you with some modalities to tap into your own truth. If that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Fascinating.
Fascinating.
As a mom of three, because you're a mom of three, right?
Yeah.
Mom of three, partner, like how do you feel that your work has helped you with your relationships as your role in society? How has this helped you creatively?
It's really helped me to just blossom in ways I didn't think possible. I went through a very spontaneous spiritual awakening 12 years ago. And before that, my life was very much revolved around partying and going out and keeping up with the Joneses and, coming home, having a glass of wine that turned into 3 glasses of wine. And what are we doing next weekend? And we're spending all of our money on babysitters and fancy dinners. And, and that was a fun lifestyle until I was like, this no longer aligns with me at all.
Wait, this was when you were a mom at this point?
Yes. Yeah.
I
So
was
my
you
oldest
just described
is
my 30s. I mean, holy moly. So you were already a mom and you were doing all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So I had my first baby when I was 26. So went through a very spontaneous spiritual awakening. And when I say spontaneous, I went to sleep one night and I had a very vivid dream. And I woke up from that dream. It was more than a dream. It was like a visitation. Something happened. And I woke up and my whole life was different. My values, everything was just like this shift happened. And it was very scary. And all of a sudden, like my high paying corporate job, none of that aligned anymore. And everything all of a sudden felt so incongruent. Really on the pendulum went all the way over to like very spiritual. And like so much so that it was like, I am an angel, and things like sex and pleasure became of absolute disinterest to me because I felt at one point that I was like too evolved for that and that it was too primal or too human. And so anytime my partner would, attempt intimacy, there we go, I was like, no, like I'm not interested. So my spirituality took me away from my humanness, away from this beautiful primal instinct and capacity for embodied pleasure. And then finally, at some point in my journey, I started coming back, the pendulum started coming back towards my humanity. And I went through a sexual awakening and rediscovered pleasure on my own terms. I grew up going to Catholic school. So as you can imagine, my ideas around pleasure were very, very convoluted and saturated in guilt. And
So much shame.
so much shame. Yeah. And then also really having to unstory myself from conditioning around pleasure as performative or a waste of time or frivolous. And like, why does this even matter? Like I kind of conditioned myself to believe that it only mattered to be able to talk about it around men, or like, it just like, what's the point? Who cares? And so I did a lot of work around my understanding of pleasure, and something that I realized in my research. So I'm a Gemini, so I like go all into a topic and started, of course, researching pleasure. And something fascinating that I found is many of us believe that the opposite of pleasure is pain. But when pleasure is not there, we're not in pain. So pleasure and pain are kind of part of the same spectrum. But when we're not able to access pleasure, when we're so far removed from pleasure, the opposite of pleasure is powerlessness. And so when we have no power, it's really hard for us to experience pleasure. So when we're feeling powerlessness in a situation, a really beautiful way to take back our power is to get into our bodies and to live sensually, engaging with our senses and really dropping ourselves into the moment and bringing the power back into ourselves. Needless to say, all of my experience with coming back into pleasure, and that includes self-pleasure as well, because I was always very disconnected from that practice. Just why? I don't need to. It's a waste of time. But when I started coming home to that, I realized like, oh my gosh, this is so empowering. Like I have the capacity within me to turn on and engage with life, to flirt with life using all of my senses, and to notice and to give reverence to when something feels really good, and to stop and to slow down and receive. And so it helped me so much in my marriage. As you can imagine, my husband was delighted, you know.
He's stoked. He's like, all day, girl, all day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then for me to come into this understanding of pleasure is not frivolous, it's a life force. It is a source of energy. So the more I engage with pleasure, whether it be sexual pleasure with my partner or pleasure in my body and my senses now and in the moment, unattached to anything external or conditional, it helped my vibrancy radiate to my children. And so it just uplifted the whole home, you know, and yeah, it just opened up so many channels.
Oh my God. I
No
love
big deal.
You are, yes, you are speaking my language right now. You know, I lost a lot of pleasure, and I think a lot do as they approach a certain age, once they become mothers, you know. I also went through a sort of an awakening. And but prior to that, it was a bit of a spiral, you know. I really lost myself. I was disconnected from myself. I was disconnected from my creativity. I was disconnected from, you know, my husband at the time. I felt very lost. So I took a year to really rediscover all of that. And especially recently has come this discovery of pleasure, exploring my sexuality. You know, Julie Nguyen, who we interviewed recently, talks about the divine feminine power. And I've just been so fascinated by the more I feel the sensuality in everything in my life, the more connected I am to my children, the more joy I walked into Trader Joe's the other day. I was telling Shelly this. I had pigtails, no makeup, you know, and I walked in to get some stuff, and I noticed every single man in Trader Joe's, young, old, staff, not, they all like took a double take and smiled. And I too went through a stage of, you know, oh, it's sex is manipulative, or when we're acting that way, it's because we're wanting something that is wrong. I was also raised Catholic, right? And so kind of shut that down. But in that moment, because I was like, do I have something on my face? Like, what is happening right now? And I smiled back, of course. And, you know, I took Aaron Keating's advice and flirted with the Trader Joe's guys at the counter. And it was so lovely. And I walked out and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then I was like, no, it's that soft feminine power. I was just glowing. And it was reciprocated, and it was reciprocated in a really positive way, not in a
Safe
way. These men were appreciating me, and I was them. And there was this beautiful exchange. And it was like, so yes. So anyway, I'm loving everything that you're saying, because I guess I'm on the right track.
Yeah. And I love the concept. It sounds like you've had a similar conversation around this concept of like flirting with life. Like, I just really believe that we can be in this continuous flirtation with the universe, God, source, you know, whatever you want to call it. And just the flowers blooming when you walk past your reflection, you know, when you see something that delights you, it's like kind of winking back and being in that like witty banter type of energy with life. And it's not always going to be like that. My God, there's days that I'm just wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and or there's days where I'm grieving or feel bad, and that's all part of it too, you know, is to like honor that, and to know that the density and the challenges are still part of a really beautiful life.
Oh, I love that. I love the flirting. I haven't put together the flirting with our higher power, the flirting with nature, the flirting with everything that surrounds us. I like
Yeah,
that.
it's so fun. Put it into practice. Like,
Yeah, it
see
makes
what
it more
happens. Like,
fun.
oh,
A
hey,
divine
hey,
connection.
flowers. Yeah.
What's up, birds?
Yeah.
How you
I
doing?
see you. You're so cute.
Oh my God, I love that. I'm happy to have you here today. I mean, your Instagram is beyond. It is so inspiring. Every time I see your posts, they're just so fun. And yes, I need to dance in my kitchen more.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like kitchen dancing is like the spice of my life. I can just turn up the music, you know, and I'm by no means a feng shui expert, but intuitively, I feel like there's something about dancing and infusing joy in your kitchen that is like I feel like it's really good for everything. And that's my professional opinion.
And that's why people say, like, when families are all together, they gather in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's something about the love of creating food and nourishment
Mm-hmm.
and nourishing your body, right, with the stuff, and then nourishing your soul with like a kitchen
Mm-hmm.
karaoke
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
a dance.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Kitchen dancing is the key to life.
I love that. And the kids love it too. I
They
need to do
do.
it more. They love it. They love it when mom dances in the kitchen. They
Mm-hmm.
roll their eyes, but
But they love it. They love rolling their eyes.
and they understand. My oldest, the other day, I was admitting to her that I've been feeling some stress lately and I've been struggling a little bit. And she said, Mom, you just need to dance more. Because she saw me for a while there where I was just dancing everywhere all the time. We were always having dance parties.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that slipped a little bit for me. And so,
Mm-hmm.
how old are your
Yeah.
kids?
My youngest just turned 5, and then my middle daughter's 10, and my oldest is 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got the gamut
You're like, you have a perspective on the whole thing right now.
on the whole thing. Yep. I feel like I'm like multilingual. Like I speak 3 different languages, teenage language, 10-year-old, preschool, husband. So
That
yeah.
hard? Do you find that it's difficult at times to do that?
No, I don't. So my younger brother and I are 13 months apart, and I, from a young age, was like, I'm not doing that. Like, it was really fun growing up with a sibling that close in age, but with my kids spread as far apart as they are, there's 5 years intervals between them, which was not planned. Just my body was like, and it's time to have another kid. It's like they're not competing for the same type of attention. So I don't feel as pulled because I'm able to like provide this sort of attention and energy and then this sort. So it's not like so much of a drain, on one kind of single source of energy, if that makes sense. And my kids all are very helpful with one another. So, I mean, not all the time, of course, but generally speaking, my oldest she's kind of like a second mama, and my middle will play with my son. And then my son provides endless entertainment he's the 5-year-old. And so it kind of works. I'm also someone, I have a massive amount of energy. Like I'm always keeping myself busy, which I need to like work on a little. So it's like good for me to have this many kids. So I'm like a bumblebee, in human design, I'm a generator. I don't know if you guys or any of your listeners know about human design, but
What's that?
yeah.
No, fill us in.
Oh gosh. Okay, it's a whole thing. It deserves its whole own episode with a human design expert. But essentially, it's another map. It pulls in from astrology, the I Ching, many other maps, if you will. It uses your time of birth, kind of what you would use for your astrology, and it is a system that shows and helps you how you particularly move and work with energy and how you can make decisions and kind of your internal guidance system. And it's very unique to you. And it is a system that has helped me release so much shame around how I move through the world, how I move really quickly, how I used to feel like kind of shame for like rushing a decision and not taking my time, or like, oh, you're so reckless. But it's like, no, I know immediately if something is a yes or no. And I'm also very multi-passionate. And I used to think, oh, well, is that because I'm just flaky, or I can never just see something and just be really good at one thing? And then the system mirrored to me that, first of all, those aren't things to be shameful of. And secondly, those are my superpowers. And so like learning about myself and learning these things through this system called human design, like really helped me to not only accept, but to embrace and amplify those parts of me. And also to understand that not everyone is like that. So in serving and supporting women, before I learned this system, it was like, well, yeah, is it a yes or no? Like, right away. And because that was my experience. And then I learned like, no, that's not everyone's experience. Some people really do need to sit and have calls and think about something and ride the emotional wave until they reach, a state of peace. Whereas me, it's like, it's yes or no. And right away. So learning, and I've learned the human design of all my children. And so that's helped me to, be a better mother, because I did learn all the different languages that their body and their energies speak. And so again, yeah, just like any tool, any map that I can be provided to like help me navigate I'm just so grateful for it all.
Again, with the maps.
The maps. I like maps.
And
Yeah.
with the maps. I had we've done our astrology, myself and my kids, the time of birth. I have like 5 Mercury in my chart. It's like super.
Oh, wow.
So I think I resonate with what you're saying, Meg, about moving so fast all the time. And my whole life, everyone was always like, what you need to do is slow down. What you need to do is yoga. What you need to do. And Cher, this, because we've talked about this, like, I can't meditate. I can't do yoga. I have to go on a run. I don't operate that way. But knowing that you're right, like, I'm so happy to hear you say this about yourself, because it makes me feel like, oh, wow, like you learned that about yourself. What a relief that you can be you, and then you can do the same thing for your kids, and you can let your kids be you. And you're avoiding this one size fits all parenting, making everyone the same.
Even the way we wished we were parented, which is a beautiful thing to do, but it might not be what they need.
It might not work.
It might not work. Yeah. So I learned about my oldest daughter. So in human design, she's what's called a projector, and projectors need a lot of time to recharge on their own. And so she comes home after school and takes naps. And there are several weekends throughout the month where she's like, I just want to be home. And had I not known that about her being a projector, I would have been like, oh my God, is there something wrong? Or no, she needs to go to extracurricular after school. Or like, why doesn't she want to be with her friends on the weekend? Like, oh, we'll just invite someone over. Like, and the kind of like pushing for that, because that's how I am, like, so again, it's just so helpful to know, like, no, wow, oh my God, she's so self-aware, and she's like doing the things, and she doesn't know anything about human design. She's just living her design authentically because she has the space to do so, because I'm an excellent mother.
Well, I mean, you're doing the right thing though, by, essentially you're seeing your kids for who they are. And I mean, truth is, you have 3 kids. So, I mean, I was just even thinking, like, sometimes it's probably easier for you to just be like, you know what, you're all going to do this today. Doing the same thing because we need you to. There are times where that probably happens, right? Like you have to do.
Oh yeah. And but I'm someone, I'm like middle of the road, extrovert, introvert. Like I love being with people at the right time, the right people. And I love being by myself and like I love traveling by myself. I love working on projects, writing by myself. And like, I will every once in a while rent an Airbnb for the weekend and just write, or just kind of like zone in and do my own thing just down the street from my house. And my kids know that, and they know that I love them very much, but I need my time by myself.
Yeah. That's yourself. What do you call it?
It's just me being me.
I feel you on that. I need my alone time. I really value that. Recharge.
Yeah.
Be creative to feel like me. And I love the human design. I love that. It's so funny because I'm one of those ones that's always telling Shelly, you really need to slow down. That's because that's me, right? That's the way it functions. And sometimes I feel guilty. I look at Shelly and what she can do on a single day, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do that? But it's so true. I want to get the human design done for me and my kids. I think it's
you can go online and just search like free human design birth chart and just pop it in. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There's so much out there. Yeah. There's really great information out there. I am not an expert. Do not come to me with human design questions. I'll just talk to you like a friend would about it. But there are people much more educated in it than me. I'm just low-key obsessed.
So can we talk really quickly about your retreats?
Yeah. Yes. They're my favorite way. So I don't do a lot of virtual workshops, offerings, because there's just something so magical for me about being in person and feeling that energy of a shared intention. And I've learned that one of my superpowers, one of my invisible skills, is creating a space out of nothing that is just, it's like a bubble of intention and just really kind of like using psychic powers to like know how to shift the energy of a room, of an experience, of a retreat. And all right, what is it asking for now? Is it movement? Is it sitting around a table and sharing bread and laughing? Is it waking up late? And that's one of my favorite things about the style of retreats I lead is like, I let people sleep in. My God, like how often do we get a chance to just like, as mothers, have a super slow morning where someone is cooking for us and cleaning up the dishes, and we can sleep until we want and then get up and sit around in our little cute robes and just have coffee, tea, and just sit for a little bit. Healing doesn't have to happen through suffering. It can, but it can also happen at a table drinking coffee for an hour. It can happen, making up dances with women and like, going out into a square in Europe and like doing silly dances. It can happen doing creative writing and just sharing your stories out loud and being witnessed and being held and having your beauty reflected back to you. The types of retreats I lead feel a little bit more like an intentional girls trip versus like the traditional style of retreat where you go into the retreat setting and you stay there and you do the deep work. And those are beautiful and they're needed and they're wonderful. And I am so grateful to the people that hold that type of space because that's very needed. Whereas I'm kind of like, all right, now we're going to reap what we sow and we're going to just like have really intentional fun together. So my next retreat is happening in Bali in October, and I'm so excited. And another one of the reasons that I do these retreats are girls trips. So I do a lot of solo travel, whether it's just a quick weekend away or something more. And I get a lot of messages from women who are watching because I share stuff on Instagram while I'm solo traveling. And a lot of women are like, gosh, I really, really want to do that, but I'm a little intimidated to do it all on my own, or that looks really fun, but and so I create these type of experiences for the woman who is really craving this type of intentional travel that leads to a deeper understanding of self and a higher level of confidence and a greater capacity to experience joy and to celebrate life, but where maybe doing it alone feels a little intimidating or kind of like too big of a first step. And so these trips are for that woman who really wants to like move in that direction with her life. And they're so fun. And they really are transformational and life-changing in like the best way possible. So they're so much fun. I love them.
And how many do you do a year?
It depends on the year. This year, my first one it'll be the Bali one in October. So I'll probably end up doing just one this year. I might throw one in December. But sometimes I'll do 5 or 6. It kind of depends what's going on in my life. And I always want it to feel very aligned and like it makes sense for me. Like I don't want to show up to the retreat frazzled, so it's okay for other people to show up frazzled, but like I'm the one holding the space. So yeah, so this year just 1, maybe 2, and then we'll see what next year holds. But I've done about 50 of them.
Wow.
I just love them. It makes me so happy. And I've always loved traveling. So it's really cool to have created a life where I get to do that with purpose and, generate income for myself.
Yeah, it's like a win-win all around, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love how you said that healing doesn't have to come from like sorrow and pain because, like I feel like I remember being in a therapist's office when I was, in my late or early 30s or something. And I remember her saying like, well, what else do you have to talk to me about? Like this doesn't always have to be doom and gloom. Tell me something good. And I remember I was like, oh, wow, I've never had someone say that to me in this kind of space before. And I think you're right. I think like when we often approach healing, we're approaching it from a place of like, what do I need to fix? And I think you're right that this sitting at the table together in community and just being lighthearted is the healing without you really knowing that it's healing.
Right.
Right.
Just like when we're dancing and playing and doing something you love, whether it's gardening or baking. God, I hate baking, but some people love it. It's healing, it's integration, it's embodiment. And we have complicated growth and healing so much, and we've taken it so much out of the body. So much out of the body. And I do believe in the value of talk therapy for sure. And I do believe in the value of journaling for sure. It's almost like we've lost the art of integration through play and joy. It's so funny to me because joy and play and lightheartedness, when we enter into a healing journey, it's because in essence, we've lost our connection to those vibrations of joy and play and ease in our life. Or why else would we be triggered into wanting to like start therapy? It's because we want to feel better. And then somewhere along the way we forget that joy and ease and play were the goal, and we just stay in this holding pattern. And it's like, well, play is a mindset, and it is available. It's available, it's there, and like you can just dance or again like do something that you love, and that's worthy and valuable.
Creative Mamas Unplugged is produced by Breatheasy Productions with music by Jeremy Jurin. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to give my mama 5 stars and keep coming back. Thanks to us kids, there are plenty of stories to tell. And you are not alone. Bye for now.